everyone, and welcome to the licensing update for the month of November 2021. I want to go through the online services terms and product terms changes, which you are used to from us every month. Today, there seems to be a lot of small and a few larger changes to the product terms. You see them on screen right now. These are all the changes for this month. I'd go through each one step by step. If there's some important matters, I will be showing the deep dive through one of the tabs that I've opened. So let's dive into it. I hope you enjoy this content. So do reach out if you have additional questions in this regard. Without further ado, let's get started. So November 1st, they added Office 365 A1 to the license prerequisites table for the phone system license. This wasn't there previously, but when you have Office 365 A1, so an academic license, not E1, an enterprise license, but A1, you are able and allowed to use phone system as well. Similarly, there was a small error in the Microsoft 365 Dynamic Services section of the product terms where they had customer insights attached in the purchasing minimums table, but it was there erroneously, so they removed this. If we look at Microsoft 365, there's a lot of changes here. Allow me to zoom in a little. They added some products like app governance add-on for Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps, compliance program for Microsoft Cloud. They added Microsoft Managed Desktop, Microsoft Viva Learning, and Viva with Glint add-on. If we go into the specific conditions, you see that they added this thing where the extended term eligible all services except premium assessment and privacy management. So those services aren't extended term eligible. That means that when your enterprise agreement contract, for instance, expires and you're using these services, these will not be continued on a month-by-month basis. They've updated the terms for Windows, so no longer it's called Windows 10, but Windows 11 due to the Windows 11 release. And you see that some places they even removed the version number, so 10 has been removed, and it's called Windows Enterprise LTSC or Windows Used Rights for Microsoft 365. Hopefully, Microsoft sticks to their promise that Windows 11 will be the final version, like they said of Windows 10. That might be the case here. We will never know and have to wait and see. Now, the license prerequisites table, as said, some changes here. This is due to the app governance add-on that Microsoft released. These are the licenses that you need to have in order to qualify and buy that product. Similarly, Microsoft Viva Learning, they've stated what the minimum licensing requirements are, which is a Microsoft 365 business license or an FA or E plan for Microsoft 365, or for Office 365, an FE or A plan. If we look down further, there's some entry around Microsoft Managed Desktop. Microsoft Managed Desktop is a managed service by Microsoft. So it includes an online service component and supplemental professional service components. As that term is used in the Data Process Protection Addendum, or the DPA, which is subject to the professional services notice. So if you want to know more about this, you go to the notices page. Around data handling, so the Managed Desktop integrates data from other Microsoft products, such as Windows, Azure Active Directory, Intune, Defender for Endpoint, Office, and other online services if you configure this yourself. So by default, it uses Windows, Azure Active Directory, Intune, and Defender for Endpoint and Office. But it might be that you configure it as such that it might touch other online services as well. And once data from MMD input services is integrated into Microsoft Managed Desktop, only the universal license term for all online services provisions applicable to Microsoft Managed Desktop apply to that data. So there's still ongoing changes there, but in the future, it will be covered and governed by the standard universal license terms. Those were the changes to Microsoft 365. So if we look at the next two entries, you see that Microsoft has released the Cloud for Financial Services and the Cloud for Non-Profit add-on. These are specific types of clouds that Microsoft releases if you are, they call it industry-specific clouds. So they did that as well for, I believe, healthcare already in the past, which is an add-on that you can put on your Microsoft 365 service, for instance. And they've now released the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services and Microsoft Cloud for Non-Profit. So if you look into the entries for both of these, Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services, it's available in the EA. The product conditions are governed by the universal license terms for all online services. It's a server product. There are no promotions as of yet in regards to this. And it's extended term eligible, so it will continue on even after you quit your contract, your enterprise agreement contract. And it's an add-on, so you may acquire a Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services add-on if the conditions are met that they list here. So you must have a license for the corresponding qualifying license. So in order to use Microsoft for Financial Services Cloud add-on, you must have one of the licenses below. So that is an E3 license or E5, project of Power Apps, Power Automate, or Power BI, Dynamics 365. So basically, if you're using any of these online services, you can use and leverage the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services add-on, meaning that you get access to the industry cloud that Microsoft provided for financial services. There's a compliance disclaimer here, specifically to the cloud for financial services. You agree that any information resulting from the use of the features provided as part of this financial services add-on is for informational or internal process management purposes only and does not consider legal, financial, tax planning, or other advice from Microsoft. You as a customer are responsible for its own financial research and financial decisions, and that the solution and resulting information provided through the cloud will not serve as the primary basis for its financial decisions. Microsoft is not responsible or liable for any decisions that actions that you as the customer or authorized third parties that create, for instance, services around the Microsoft Cloud for Financial Services take based on information customer produces or generates as a user of the cloud for financial services. You may not use the features or information provided as a factor in establishing the financial standing, including the eligibility for credit, hire, insurance, housing, employment, or other eligibility or entitlements of a person or entity in such a way that would cause Microsoft to be considered to operate as a consumer reporting agency. As you see, it's a big compliance disclaimer. This might have to do with the fact that financial markets are often very much regulated, especially looking at the US or even Western Europe. There's all kinds of rules and regulations that you need to adhere by. And that's why they might have added this immense disclaimer. The terms, data protection and security, the DPA apply to the online services except for online services listed in the privacy and security terms as being excluded. For core online services, which is basically Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and Azure, online service specific details on security practices and location of customer data at rest are also located in the privacy and security terms. Those might already be known to you. If we look at the Microsoft Cloud for Non-Profit, you see that in default, it's the same. There's two plans. There's Non-Profit Basic, there's Non-Profit Plan 1 and Plan 2, all available in the EA or Enterprise Agreement subscription. Same product conditions. There's purchasing minimums set up for the Cloud for Non-Profit. So if you want to buy a Plan 1, your employee count needs to be less than or equal to 250 users. And if you want to buy a Plan 2, it's when you have more than 251 employees or users within your domain. So be aware of these purchasing minimums, then you know which plan you need to buy if you want to use the Microsoft Cloud for Non-Profit. Again, also here, it's an add-on. So it's subject to the following conditions. You need to have the corresponding qualifying license, which means any of these services that you're buying, you may acquire one add-on subscription line for each qualifying license unless provided otherwise, meaning that if you buy, for instance, 251 Office 365 E3, then you can buy 251 add-ons for the non-profit cloud. You may acquire add-on SLs between true updates or in advance of the acquisition of qualifying license, meaning that if you are not using it yet, you started your contract with 251 licenses, for instance. You grow throughout the year, but you do this not by buying a license, but by, for instance, a license reservation. You can already buy these add-ons for non-profit licensing for those users as well. Microsoft Cloud for non-profit add-on features are dependent upon purchase of the following qualifying licenses. Well, again, these we've listed before. It's basically any product in the Microsoft Cloud that you want to use, user-based services, or an Azure App Service, for instance. And then you can put on top of that the add-on for the Microsoft Cloud for non-profit. Going back to the overview, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. It's been rebranded, as you can see here. It used to be called Microsoft Cloud App Security, but it's now Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. So it's part of the Defender family now, with Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, and Defender for Office 365, also having been rebranded to one suite, a suite of family of products. Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps has been rebranded as well. No further changes to that, just name change. Then for Power Platform, they added the Power Apps plan for 2,000 seat minimum, and there's the minimum requirements for that. So you have the Power Apps plan. It's a Power Apps per app plan. It's a Power Apps per user plan, where you can buy a 2,000 seat minimum. So you buy 2,000 seats in one go. So you can't, it's still a user-based subscription license, so you assign it to one user. But in order to qualify for this Power Apps 2,000 seat minimum, you obviously need to buy 2,000 licenses. So you can't buy 1,999, leverage this product. You need to buy a minimum of 2,000. Professional services. They've been making quite some updates to this page over the past few months. You've seen it pass in our other monthly updates as well. No shocking big changes this time. They added a sentence stating that digital advisory services offerings are only available for US federal customers. So if you're a US federal customer, you get to leverage this product. Additionally, they removed the digital strategy and enablement offerings, probably because it's discontinued. I'm not fully aware of what this is. Sorry for that. If you have questions on this, I'd be willing to look into it further. Project Server and SharePoint Server. They updated the terms to support the launch of Project Server Subscription and SharePoint Server Subscription Edition, meaning that they are currently changing from a bought license to a server subscription license, meaning that Microsoft is furthering their subscription standpoint, whereas they used to sell software, they want to now sell subscriptions. You see that now as well in the on-premise Project Server and SharePoint Server versions. So if you look at the entries, and you see, for instance, for Project Server, it used to be called Project Server 2019. It's now called Project Server Subscription Edition. 2019 has been added to the prior version list now, and active software assurance is required to run and access Project Server Subscription Edition software, Server and CAL. Project Server Subscription Edition licenses include a perpetual entitlement to run Project Server 29 software only. If SA coverage lapses or customer purchases a buyout license, customer must uninstall Subscription Edition software and may install 2019 software. So you buy a subscription, but you still have software assurance entitlements, and you need software assurance to run and access Project Server Subscription Editions. It includes a perpetual entitlement for 2019. So again, if you buy this subscription for Project Server and you discontinue it, you still get rights to use an on-premise version of 2019. Same with the access licenses for Project Server. The change has been made to a subscription edition. If you look at SharePoint, similarly, SharePoint Server 2019, it's been turned into SharePoint Server Subscription Edition. 2019 is now the prior version, and the same clause around active software assurance counts for this as well. Then on to Visual Studio. They launched Visual Studio 2022. There's no licensing changes. There's new terms for code inspection functionality. So if you look at the entry for Visual Studio, you see indeed that 2019 has turned to 2022. 2019 is now the prior version. They added reduction eligibility in SCE for all products in the Visual Studio family, meaning that if you buy subscriptions in an SCE, you have the right to reduce this upon anniversary, as long as you maintain the minimums required for the server and cloud enrollment. They added indeed language for code inspection. The software includes an optional feature enabling inspection of binary code and reproduction of source code from binary code. Customer agrees to use such feature only to inspect or reproduce software as authorized by its owner or applicable law. So you can't just use this. You need to have this authorized by the vendor that you're buying software from. Finally, Windows Desktop Operating System. Defender for Endpoint offers have been expanded. The existing offer has been rebranded to Plan 2, and a new Plan 1 offer has been launched. Well, if you look at the entry, you see indeed that a lot of changes have been made. All the Windows 10 versions have been rebranded to Windows 11. So Windows 10 is now the prior version. And you see that Windows Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 and Plan 2 have been added, and the standard Microsoft Defender for Endpoint has been removed from this table. If you look at the qualifying operating licenses, you also see the changes here. So Windows 10, 11 are qualifying operating systems in this regard. They removed references to 7 because it's an older version now that's no longer in mainstream support. So they are not qualifying operating systems anymore, according to Microsoft. But they do state Windows 7 operating system covered by an extended security update are qualifying operating systems. So if you're still purchasing ESUs for Windows 7 systems that you might have, then they do become qualifying operating systems. And as such, you can still continue to use them. Looking at per device, the same changes apply. They removed Windows 7. Windows 8, Windows 10, and 11 are still in here. All references have been updated to include Windows 11. And again, the same clause around extended security update. Get Genuine. Customers may acquire Get Genuine Windows, also known as GGWA, licenses for the full version of the Windows Desktop Operating System for devices that require valid Windows licenses. Because Get Genuine Windows licenses are full licenses for Windows, they do not have a qualifying OS requirement. Get Genuine Windows licenses are available only as a one-time purchase per customer, where all units must be placed under a single order. Get Genuine Windows license may not be assigned to devices without a qualifying OS if such devices are obtained after the customer's order. So if you don't know what Get Genuine is, it's when you usually in an audit get caught not having the correct Windows licenses for the devices that you're running, you can buy Get Genuine to become in compliance. Again, Windows 10, 11 always updated everywhere. They sometimes don't put an 11, sometimes they do. So there must be a reason for that. I did not figure out why. Azure Virtual Desktop for Windows has just been rebranded to Azure Virtual Desktop for Windows, not for 7 or for 10, just for Windows. And Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise was removed. This is no longer an edition that Microsoft is using. within software assurance. Again, the same thing. And that's it for the Windows entry of this month's product terms update. October 5th, they already updated some of these items to support this launch. So there was a prior month's update, a few days after they did the October 1st update. But that is become apparent now in the November update as well. So with that, I don't have anything else right now. If there's things that I've forgotten you want me to discuss or talk about, do reach out, let me know. For now, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I will talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.